Imagine it's the winter of 1942. In front of you rises a Soviet factory hall, its windows bricked up, machine guns hidden behind firing slits. Grenades have barely scratched the walls. Your unit lies in the snow, pinned down under constant fire. Then a pioneer steps forward, tanks strapped to his back, nozzle in hand. A hiss, a roar, and suddenly the hall becomes a blazing inferno. Welcome to the Eastern Front, where fire and ice collided. Already during the invasion of Poland in 1939, the Wehrmacht deployed flamethrowers. The weapons, especially the Flammenwerfer 35, were heavy, unwieldy, and cumbersome, weighing almost 80 pounds, with a range of only about 25 yards. They were ill-suited for fast assaults, but they proved useful for destroying bunkers and fortified positions. In Warsaw, a particularly gruesome scene unfolded. When German pioneers used flamethrowers against Polish defenders, the flames spread to entire apartment blocks. Reports say soldiers who had held machine gun nests for days were overwhelmed in seconds, but civilians hiding in the basements also burned alive. Even here it became clear, the flamethrower was not just a weapon. It was an instrument of psychological terror. With the invasion of the Soviet Union in June 1941, the use of flamethrowers reached a new level. The Red Army had a dense network of fortified positions, especially along the so-called Stalin Line. These concrete bunkers were almost impossible for infantry to take. German pioneer units advanced with flamethrowers to destroy embrasures and entrances. They often first sprayed fuel into the pitch-black bunkers. Seconds later, the fire would ignite. For the defenders, it was a nightmare. Reports describe panic, soldiers fleeing the bunkers only to be cut down in the hail of infantry fire. One Wehrmacht soldier wrote, "We heard them scream, and then there was sudden silence. Grenades destroyed walls, but fire broke the will." A striking example was the siege of Sevastopol in 1942. The Soviet fortifications around the city were nearly indestructible. Concrete bunkers, caves, and miles of tunnels. Here, the Wehrmacht not only deployed the monstrous Dora railway gun, but also massed flamethrowers. German assault teams fought from bunker to bunker. Hand grenades and explosives weren't enough. Flamethrowers were often the last resort. Particularly feared were the attacks inside catacombs and tunnel systems. Where light and air were scarce, even a short burst of fire turned underground defenses into death traps. But soon the Red Army responded with its own weapons. Their Rox 2 flamethrowers were technically similar to German models, but they had one unique feature: camouflage. From the outside, they looked almost exactly like a standard Mosin-Nagant rifle. The fuel tank was hidden under the soldier's uniform, and the nozzle was shaped to resemble a gun barrel. For German infantry, it was a shock. A Soviet soldier who seemed to carry an ordinary rifle could suddenly unleash a column of fire. In the catacombs of Sevastopol, this led to brutal close-quarters combat. German survivors recalled that the surprise of the disguised Soviet flamethrowers threw entire assault squads into chaos. Often the Germans could fight back with grenades or machine gun fire, but the first blast of flames was enough to cause panic and break an attack. For Soviet propaganda, the Rox became a symbol of cunning, proof that the Red Army could wield modern and terrifying weapons. Many veterans later remembered that the moment when an ordinary-looking Soviet infantryman suddenly spewed fire was one of the most disturbing experiences of the entire war. In the ruins of Stalingrad, the flamethrower war escalated. Entire streets were blocked by snipers and machine gun nests. Again and again, German pioneers advanced with flamethrowers to clear buildings, but they also faced Soviet counterattacks with ROKS flamethrowers. The battles in the tractor factory, or Pavlov's house, became infamous. Rooms defended for days could be lost in seconds to bursts of fire. Eyewitnesses said that even battle-hardened veterans panicked at the sight of flame. A German private later recalled, "We had learned to endure artillery, bombs, and grenades. But when fire came, everyone ran." Fire was worse than anything else. Ironically, winter was both curse and blessing for flamethrowers. In extreme cold, ignition systems often failed and the thick fuel froze. But once they worked, the effect in the snow was terrifying. Sources from the forests around Leningrad describe trenches engulfed in flames within seconds. Snow melted, the ground steamed, and between smoke and fire, escape was impossible. For the soldiers, it was a shocking realization. Even the freezing Russian winter could not protect them from fire. With the Battle of Kursk in 1943, the balance shifted. The Red Army now began using flamethrowers not just defensively, but in large-scale offensives. Soviet assault troops stormed German lines, followed by flamethrower units. Machine gun nests, bunkers, and even anti-tank trenches were cleared with fire. Reports say that at the first sight of flamethrowers, German units immediately called for air support or tanks. The fear was too great. The improved ROX 3 could fire over 30 meters. The doctrine was clear: first submachine guns, then fire. A brutal but effective double strike. German flamethrowers like the FW-35 and the lighter FW-41 used thickened gasoline, expelled under nitrogen pressure. Burn time, about 8 to 12 seconds. Range, at most 30 meters.
And basically you're going to be pouring this burning gasoline through the little hole in his pillbox to burn them out.
The Soviet models worked similarly, but their disguise made them particularly dangerous. The rifle-like design of the ROX meant German soldiers often recognized the threat too late. For the operators, it was a death sentence in waiting. A single hit on the tanks meant instant fiery death. Many flamethrower troops survived only a few missions, and those who did carried scars, not just physical but psychological. They saw the enemy at point-blank range, heard the screams, smelled the burning flesh. Many never spoke of it again after the war. By 1945, flamethrowers remained one of the most feared and hated weapons on the Eastern Front. They decided bunker and street fights, but they also left scorched earth, literally, and in the memories of survivors. In cities like Warsaw, Sevastopol, Stalingrad, and Königsberg, entire neighborhoods were wiped out by flamethrower assaults. For civilians, the weapon became synonymous with terror. Many veterans, German and Soviet alike, remained silent about these experiences. The screams of the victims echoed for decades. The flamethrower became a symbol of the horrors of the Eastern Front, a weapon that might win battles, but at the price of humanity. The Eastern Front was a war of extremes, from freezing cold to blazing fire. Flamethrowers were more than weapons. They were tools of terror that decided battles, but also left deep scars. They captured bunkers and streets, but they burned themselves into the souls of those who survived.